Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Your Honor. This is court interpreter Federal Davis. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. We have two individuals about 18 or 19 or 19 or 20 this morning. I'll stand by. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, Neil Thompson to the state. I'm just in the process of compiling the final recs, and I'll send them out in a moment just now.
Thank you.
In the meantime, Your Honor, there are a handful that need to be continued to this evening because they are unavailable right now. Do I just go down the list? What do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Michael Padillas needs to be continued. Batters.
Hold on.
Bonfield.
Wait.
Yep.
Padillas, what's his reason? Hospital or?
Jail, per management, we're not able to give a reason as to why the inmates are unavailable. We are only able to say that they're unavailable.
Okay, that's fine. All right.
Jaden Betters is unavailable. Robert Bonfield is unavailable. Julie Bagley is unavailable. Isaiah Camacho is unavailable. Daniel De Asala is unavailable. Edward Garlick is unavailable. Susan Gunch is unavailable. And Alexander Trejo is unavailable.
All right. That's all?
Yes.
All right. I'll enter all of those.
Counsel, what's your last name?
I remember.
Smith.
Thank you. I'm sorry, counsel. I don't remember your first name. Can you give me your email,
That's
please?
okay. Mr. President, if they're just going to be put in the SharePoint, that's fine.
It's already there.
Perfect.
Judge, I just sent him.
Thank you. All right, so the list that you just read off, counsel, has been either continued to this evening or to their next review hearing date as appropriate.
Thank you.
And then
Yes. See right there on it.
Bonfield Robert here. Sanchez said not to send me if it's the thing. Are you ready? Okay, yes. Yeah. Me there. Show it on the picture. And someone to come in for that. Good.
Good
Good morning. Please state your name.
morning, Gabriel. Your full name? Oh, Gabriel Rivera Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera Fimbres. This is the time set for your initial appearance. You are here on charges of aggravated assault, armed robbery, aggravated robbery, and kidnapping. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to be represented by an attorney. I am appointing the legal defender's office to represent you, and there is counsel seated next to you for the purposes of today's hearing. I have reviewed information provided about you by pretrial services. I have reviewed the interim complaint, providing some information about the alleged offenses. And I have reviewed the state's recommendation that you be held on a bond of $50,000 based on the use of a deadly weapon and the nature of the offenses. Do you need to be heard further, Mr. Poston?
Your Honor, the state needs to emphasize the fact, or needs to make clear to the court its position that this involved a deadly weapon and a person being terrified for 2 straight hours whilst they were driving, who was just trying to make a living driving Uber. And it's not entirely clear why there's no weapons misconduct charges yet, because if my math is correct, this person is not over the age at which he can own a pistol. And the state is absolutely adamant that release to mom's custody is absolutely futile because she could not obviously control this kid to begin with.
Thank you. Defense.
Yes, I noticed the emphasis on the firearm from Mr. Poston, and given that I understand where he's coming from with that, but reading the interim complaint, it seems like Mr. Rivera is also just as adamant that it is a simulated deadly weapon, which of course would not have much difference in the charges here, but has a massive difference in the appropriate release conditions in this case. Given that he's not charged with a misconduct with a firearm, that implies to me that this is probably going to be a simulated deadly weapon case. I don't know. I don't predict the future, of course, so I could be wrong. But given his lack of juvenile history, given his lack of any felony history prior, his age, I would ask that he be released to enhanced pretrial services. If a bond is appropriate, I'd ask that it be no more than $1,500, Your Honor.
Your Honor?
Yes, Mr. Poston.
I'd wager to say it's pretty likely that the victim here didn't know it was a fake gun. So the terror it instilled in that person was just as real if it was a bona fide weapon. And again, this person is a danger. He apparently sees no problem in pulling a gun and taking somebody on a 2-hour hell ride.
All right. I do have concerns about the safety of the community and the victim, so I am going to order a bond, but because the defendant is only 17, I am going to order a $5,000 bond that is cash or secured, released to pretrial services if that bond is posted. No alcohol or illegal drugs, no firearms or weapons. If there do happen to be any firearms in your possession, sir, you do have to release or surrender those to law enforcement. You may have no contact with the alleged victim and do not return to the incident location. Your next court date is going to be a preliminary hearing on March 10th at 1:30. That is at Pima County Justice Court. If you are still in custody, the jail will make you available for that hearing. If you are released, it will be your responsibility to appear. If you fail to appear, a warrant can issue for your arrest. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You're excused for today.
Your Honor, was that 5,000 or 1,500? I didn't quite hear.
5,000.
Thank you.
Yes, that's what it.
Yeah. Okay.
Good morning. Please state your name.
Danny. Danny Salazar.
Mr. Salazar, this is the time for your initial appearance. You are here on charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, aggravated robbery, armed robbery, and kidnapping. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to be represented by an attorney, and I am appointing the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You also have counsel seated next to you today for the purposes of this hearing. I have reviewed information provided by pretrial services. I reviewed the interim complaint, providing a little bit of detail about the charges. And I have reviewed the state's recommendation that you be held on a bond of $50,000 plus pretrial services if posted. And I've heard the argument provided for your co-defendant by the state. Mr. Poston, do you have anything to add?
No, other than to reinforce that the victim had no idea it may or may not have been not a real weapon, and the matter of a couple of months should not make the difference between a token bond and a substantial bond. State renews its recommendation at 50,000.
Thank you. Defense?
I have the same recommendation as the last of the co-defendant, Your Honor. This is something, again, both defendants in this matter are emphasizing that it was a simulated deadly weapon. He does not have any criminal history either with the juvenile system or as a felony as an adult. And the big difference between this and his co-defendant is both are alleging that the co-defendant is the one that held either the firearm or the simulated deadly weapon. So Mr. Salazar himself was never the one that had either a firearm or a simulated deadly weapon in there. I'm not going to go into argument on whether he knew anything that was going to be happening, but I do think he has an even stronger argument for pretrial services. I think if a bond is appropriate, it should be less than $5,000 here.
Thank you. If this had been going on for 5 minutes, I might agree, but because it was going on for 2 hours, I am going to order the same release conditions. I'm going to order a bond of $5,000, cash or secured pretrial services if the bond is posted. Sir, if you do post bond, you may not possess or consume alcohol or illegal drugs. You may not possess any firearms or weapons. If there do happen to be any firearms in your possession, you must surrender them to local law enforcement. You will submit to monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services, have no contact with the alleged victim, not return to the incident location. Your next court date is going to be March 10th at 1:30. That's for a preliminary hearing. That's at Pima County Justice Court. If you are in custody, the jail will make you available. If you have posted bond and been released, it will be your responsibility to appear. And if you fail to appear, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Yes.
Thank you. You're excused.
Good attorney reaching out. Okay. All right. Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay. Further, Bonfield.
Your Honor, this is the jail, if I may.
Yeah.
They did make Mr. Bonfield available. Would you like to see him?
Let me take a quick look here. Was this just a review?
It's a city court case.
Oh, the city court case. Okay. Yes, sure.
Quick.
Good morning. Please state your full name.
Robert Carl Bonfield.
Mr. Bonfield, this is the time for your initial appearance on charges of contributing to the delinquency or dependency of a minor, endangering the health or life, and child abuse. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. And sir, you do have the right to an attorney. I am appointing the legal advocate's office to represent you in this case. Or sorry, that's not correct. I'm appointing you have the right to hire an attorney of your choice, and in some circumstances, an attorney may be appointed to represent you. And I had the other next persons pulled up here. I have a couple of questions about the current situation. Is the Department of Child Safety involved?
Yes.
And has the child been placed in a relative or other type of placement?
Sure. They have been unable to use a phone since I got here. My wife probably knows because I'm pretty sure that she was able to use the phone.
Okay. And if I were to order that you be released on your promise to appear, but that you have no contact with the alleged victim, do you have somewhere to go?
Yes.
And would you appear at your next court date?
Yes, ma'am.
So because this is a new city court charge, this is also the time for your arraignment. And so I will also let you know that if you that I'm entering a plea of not guilty on your behalf, and that if you fail to appear for future court dates, not only can a warrant issue for your arrest, but the hearings can also go forward in your absence, including trial. If you're convicted at trial and you fail to appear for sentencing for at least 90 days, you may lose your right to a direct appeal. So your next court date is going to be March 26th at 9 a.m. Do you understand the consequences of failing to appear?
Yes.
All right, thank you. You are excused for today. Oh, I didn't give you this card. I'm like, why do I still have this? And why is it empty? Good morning. Please state your full name.
Thompson.
All right, Mr. Thompson, it looks like you are here for a warrant out of another county. And so the bond is going to remain on that warrant. It looks like you also have some local charges that are not before me today that are keeping you here in Pima County. So what I'm going to do is set a review hearing in about 30 days to see if you are still here in Pima County or if you have been released to the other jurisdiction. And the date isn't in this one, is it March 20? Okay. No, you're fine. And
What county is this from? Asking.
Graham County.
Okay, I know that I had this pending right here. I'm on ITS out here, in Pima County. I know I have like a little misdemeanor thing that I'm taking care of right now too, but I'm supposed to be getting reinstated on my IPS, probably next week, he said, and going out to a rehab that I already got approved at Via Maria here in Tucson. Am I still gonna be able to like do all that and do treatment with this pending warrant down in Graham County?
So what I show is that you would be released, if you're released here, that you would be released to Graham County. And so you may wish to contact an attorney to try to get that warrant quashed.
All right.
Do you have an attorney?
No, I like, it's been pending for a long time. I haven't. Okay.
All right,
Okay.
you're excused for today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Any 43. Yes. Thank you. Delgado, Benny. He's in a wheelchair.
Valley. Oh, yeah. Good morning. Please state your full name.
Leno.
Mr. Leno, this is the time for your initial appearance on charges of unlawful flight from law enforcement and resisting arrest. It looks like we have 2 different charges out of Superior Court and 1 out of Justice Court. And I have reviewed information provided by pretrial services. I have reviewed the interim complaint. And I have reviewed the state's recommendation that you be held on a bond of $7,500, which I believe was the warrant amount in CR 2025-0505 and $10,000, which is also the warrant amount in 0504. Does the state wish to be heard further?
No, Your Honor.
And defense.
Given the failures to appear in multiple cases in the Superior Court, bonds are likely already going to be put in place soon on those cases as well. With that in mind, I I don't think it makes much difference what the bond is. I think a nominal bond's fine. I think something like 7,500 makes sense as well, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. So I believe I can make them concurrent in the two Superior Court cases. And then it will be separate in the other case. So I am going to order a bond of 7,500 cash or secured, pretrial services if posted, monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services, no alcohol or illegal drugs, no firearms or weapons. Mr. Leno, I am appointing the legal advocate's office to represent you. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you.
Sure.
Your next court date in the Superior Court cases is going to be March 7th at 1:30 for an arraignment. And your next court date in the Justice Court case is going to be March 10th at 1:30. That is set for a preliminary hearing. I've set the bond in that case as 2,500 cash or secured, same other conditions of release. And sir, if you fail to appear for your future hearings, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Thank you. You're excused for today.
This is yours. It's got the numbers that we were given today. Okay.
Delgado?
My stack starts with 17? 14. I know, but my stack starts with 17. Oh, yep, that was my mistake. Thank you. Thank you. All right, good morning. Please state your full name.
Delgado.
Mr. Delgado, this is the time set for your initial appearance.
I'm sorry if I look like it. I'm so tired.
You are here on charges of threats or intimidation out of Pima County Justice Court, including disorderly conduct, criminal trespass, and previous failures to appear. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire an attorney of your choice, and in certain circumstances, an attorney can be appointed to represent you.
Okay.
We're going to talk about your conditions of release. And at this time, I am going to order that you be held on a bond of $200. That'll be cash or secured. Additional conditions of release are that you do not have any contact with the alleged victims and do not return to the incident locations. I am appointing Peter Gutierrez to represent you.
Who is that, ma'am?
It's going to be your attorney.
Who's my attorney though? I don't know her name.
No,
Well, her name. I know, but
Peter Gutierrez.
please forgive me, ma'am. I cannot hear you, right? Believe you, May
I'm happy to repeat the name. It's Peter Gutierrez.
Peter Gutierrez. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. And your next court date is going to be March 3rd at 1 p.m. with Judge Cornejo. That's at Pima County Justice Court. If you fail to appear for that hearing, a warrant can, it is March 3rd at 1 p.m. That's this coming Monday. It'll be on the paperwork you receive. It's before Judge Cornejo. If you fail to appear, a warrant can issue for your arrest. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you're excused for today.
Yes.
The 25 was, you can't see that.
Yeah.
Good morning. Please state your name.
Good morning. My name is Cameron Diggs.
Mr. Diggs, this is the time set for your initial appearance on charges of disorderly conduct and criminal damage to property. Those are domestic violence offenses. These are out of Green Valley Justice Court. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire an attorney of your choice, and in certain circumstances, an attorney may be appointed on your behalf. Sir, we're going to talk about your conditions of release. If I were to order that you are released on your promise to appear at your court date, will you appear at your court date?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Pretrial Services was able to talk to Ms. Diggs, and she did indicate that there was no objection to your release and that you're welcome to come home. So I'm not going to order any no conduct conditions. I am going to order that you possess or consume no alcohol or illegal drugs, that you possess no firearms or weapons, and that you commit no acts of domestic violence. Your next court date is going to be March 13th at 8:30 in the morning at Green Valley Justice Court. Should you fail to appear for that court date, a warrant could issue for your arrest. You understand?
Yes, ma'am, I do. And I do have one question. I'm actually having a heart procedure on March 11th. I was wondering if we could get that court date changed.
Do we have any other dates for Green Valley?
Let me check. And what date?
It's March 13th that it was set for, and he's having a surgery on March 11th.
Okay, how about we can set it out, leave it out to April,
Okay.
March 3rd, all right, April 3rd.
All right, sir, we'll set your court date on April 3rd at 8:30 at Green Valley Justice Court. You understand?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
All right, you're excused for today.
Yes, ma'am.
Down there. Fine.
Good morning. Please state your full name.
All right, Derek Scott Hunt.
Mr. Hunt, this is the time set for your initial appearance on charges of shoplifting and criminal trespass.
Yes, ma'am.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire an attorney of your choice, and in certain circumstances, an attorney may be appointed to represent you. We're going to talk about your conditions of release.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was able to see a significant failure to appear history, so I am going to order a $100 cash or secured bond in each case. Your next court date is going to be March 3rd at 1 p.m.
Your Honor, I apologize for not making those appearances, man. I really am, and I'm getting it. I'm getting into sober house, or I'm in the sober house, and I don't want to mess it up. And if I don't show up, I'm gonna mess it up. I'm gonna get kicked out.
So you've been
Yeah.
accepted,
Yes.
and when
Yes,
when are you supposed to begin there?
I've already began there.
And what are the well, hold on, let me look at this a second.
That's why I went to Walmart last night and I figured it had been like a year. I didn't know it was a lifetime, you know.
All right, sir, if I were to order that you are released on your promise to appear, will you appear at your next court date?
Yes, I will, ma'am. I promise you. I promise you that. And if I don't, then you can hold me content.
All right, so because you're reporting that you have been accepted into a treatment center, I am going to give you one more chance to appear on these. I am going to set your next court date as March 31st at 8:30 in the morning. No contact with the alleged victims. Do not return to the incident location.
Okay.
Oh, he has city cases too? I thought so. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Sir, I am going to also order that you're released on your promise to appear on your Tucson City Court charges. Your court date for those is going to be March 27th at 9 a.m. I have no doubt that if you fail to appear for any of these hearings, warrants will issue for your arrest. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I do.
Excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Right. This way.
Please state your name.
Harris Springs, Pacific.
Right, Mr. Basirik, this is your initial appearance on charges of threats or intimidation, criminal damage, and disorderly conduct. These are domestic violence offenses. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to be represented. Well, you have the right to hire an attorney of your choice, and under certain circumstances, an attorney will be appointed for you. We're going to talk about your conditions of release today. I have reviewed information provided by pretrial services, and I have reviewed the probable cause statement. Sir, if I were to order that you be released, would you have somewhere to go?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Okay. And would you appear at your court date?
Of course. Yes.
All right. This is also the time for your for your arraignment. So I will also let you know that I'm going to enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. You are presumed to be innocent. If you fail to appear for future court dates, not only can a warrant be issued for your arrest, but the hearings can also go forward in your absence, including a trial. If you're convicted at trial and fail to appear for sentencing for at least 90 days, you may lose your right to a direct appeal. Do you understand the consequences of failing to appear?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Great. And your next court date is going to be March 10th. That's at 9:30 in the morning before Judge Millian. It is ordered consolidating these cases with CM 24039463 and CM 24039464.
Yes.
You are ordered to have no contact with the victim, Jennifer Moret, your girlfriend. You may not return to her residence, and you must commit no further acts of domestic violence. Do you understand? All right. You're excused for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Please state your full name.
Alfonso Coronado.
Mr. Corado, you are here for your initial appearance and arraignment on charges of making a false report to law enforcement. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire the attorney of your choice, and in certain circumstances, an attorney may be appointed to represent you. Since this is also the time for your arraignment, I will let you know that I'm entering a plea of not guilty on your behalf. You are presumed to be innocent. If you fail to appear for future hearings, not only can they go forward without you, but that includes your trial. A warrant can be issued for your arrest, and if you are convicted at trial and fail to appear for sentencing for at least 90 days, you may lose your right to a direct appeal. If I were to order that you be released on your promise to appear, will you appear at your next court date?
Yes, I will, Your Honor.
All right. So I am going to order that you are released on your promise to appear. Your next court date is going to be March 27th at 9:30 a.m. before Judge Maldonado at Tucson City Court. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. You're excused for today.
Okay, thank you. Cruz, Billion.
Please state your full name.
William Cruz.
Mr. Cruz, this is the time set for your initial appearance and arraignment on charges of disorderly conduct and harassment. These are domestic violence charges. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire the attorney of your choosing, and in certain circumstances, an attorney may be appointed on your behalf. Since this is the time for your arraignment, I will also let you know that I'm entering a plea of not guilty on your behalf, that you are presumed to be innocent, that if you fail to appear, not only can a warrant issue for your arrest, but the hearings can go forward without you, including your trial. If you are convicted at trial and fail to appear for sentencing for at least 90 days, you may lose your right to a direct appeal. So do you understand the consequences of failing to appear for future court dates?
Yes, ma'am.
And if I were to order that you be released on your promise to appear at your next court date, would you appear?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So that is what I'm going to order. I'm also ordering that you possess no firearms or weapons. So if you do have a firearm in your possession, you need to get rid of that. That you commit no acts of domestic violence, that you have no contact of any kind with the victim in this case, Angelina Holguin, or her daughter, and that you do not return to the victim's residence or the incident location.
And if my daughter, if there's like no like custody agreement or anything like that, how do I go about that?
But you can file paperwork with the family law court. You can talk to a lawyer or a legal paraprofessional who practices family law.
But as of right now, I can't contact my daughter.
No, but that order can be modified by the next judge. Okay?
Okay, I appreciate it.
So your next hearing is going to be April 7th at 9 a.m. That's before Judge Hale. No, wait, sorry, that is not going to be before Judge Hale. It's going to be before Judge Millian. And that
Okay.
means it's also a different date. It's going to be April 1st, not April 7th.
Okay.
And that's at 1 p.m. Sorry, 1:30 p.m. And if you were to fail to appear, a warrant could issue for your arrest. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. You're excused.
I appreciate it.
Nicholas?
Please state your full name.
Nicholas Jason Hegedus.
Mr. Hegedus, this is the time for your initial appearance. It looks like you have several matters out of Tucson City Court and that there were warrants issued for your arrest. You have the right to remain silent on all of these cases. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire an attorney of your choice. Today, I am going to appoint the City of Tucson Public Defender to represent you. And due to the number of charges and the history of failure to appear, I am going to order that you be held on a bond of $200, cash or secured, that you have no contact of any kind with the alleged victims, that you do not return to the incident location, and that you abide by any prior conditions of release.
Ma'am, I just got into a house with a friend of mine. He was moving. I was homeless for the last couple of months, but I believe I got into a house with my friend Shauna. So she's trying to help me get back on my feet. So, but I had no, I really wasn't paying attention to the courts. Well, I was paying attention to the court dates, but once I lost track of the warrants, some of them had like 5 warrants. Then I had, and then had like, it's only 8. But I can go to my courts all the time. When I first started, I was going to them all the time.
So,
I mean, I have a problem with it.
So, sir, I am going to order that you be held. You'll be able to be seen by a judge if you remain in custody on March 7th at 1:45. If you post your bond and are released, your court date will then be April 2nd at 9 a.m. If you fail to appear for that court date, I am certain that a warrant will issue for your arrest based on this history. Do you understand that?
I would be released or no?
No, not unless you post the bond of $200 cash or secured. Thank you. You're excused. Good morning. Please state your name.
Benjamin Montoya.
Mr. Montoya, you are here today on charges of criminal trespass, criminal damage, assault, and disorderly conduct out of Tucson City Court. This is the time for your initial appearance and your arraignment on those charges. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire the attorney of your choice, and in certain circumstances, an attorney may be appointed to represent you. I will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf and let you know that you are presumed to be innocent. However, if you fail to appear for any future court dates, a warrant can issue for your arrest. The hearings can go forward in your absence. That includes trial. And if you are convicted and fail to appear for sentencing for at least 90 days, you can lose your right to a direct appeal.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So we're going to talk about your conditions of release, sir. If I were to order that you be released on your promise to appear, would you appear at your next court date?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I am going to order that you be released on your promise to appear. I'm going to order that you have no contact of any kind with the alleged victim. And that you do not return to the incident location.
Okay.
Your next court date is March 27th at 9 a.m. Do you understand the consequences of failing to appear for that court date?
Yes.
All right, thank you. You're excused for today. Please state your name.
Eric Brandon North.
Mr. North, this is the time for your initial appearance and arraignment on charges of domestic violence, assault, and disorderly conduct. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire an attorney of your choice. In certain circumstances, an attorney may be appointed for you. I will enter pleas of not guilty on your behalf and let you know that you are presumed to be innocent. If you fail to appear for your future hearings, a warrant can issue for your arrest. The hearings can go forward in your absence, including a trial. And if you are convicted and fail to appear for at least 90 days, then you can lose your right to a direct appeal. We're going to talk about your conditions of release. Sir, if I were to order that you be released on your promise to appear at your next court date, would you appear at your next court date?
Yes.
And let's see. Ms. Kalan, your girlfriend indicated that she does not object to your release and that you are welcome to return home. So I am not going to order any no contact provisions at this time. However, I am ordering that you commit no acts of domestic violence. Your next court date is going to be April 1st at 1:30 p.m. before Judge Million. If you fail to appear, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Do you understand that and the other consequences of failing to appear?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And I didn't say it, I don't think, so I am releasing you on your promise to appear.
Thank you.
You are excused for today.
Thank you.
Cordova.
Please state your full name.
Lorenzo Camacho Cordova.
Mr. Cordova, this is the time set for your initial appearance. On charges of murder in the second degree, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to an attorney. I am appointing the legal defender's office to represent you, and there is counsel seated next to you for today. I have reviewed information provided by pretrial services. And I have also reviewed the recommendation from the state that you be held on a bond of $1 million with pretrial services if the bond is posted. I do not have details of any kind about the offense since this was on warrant status, except that there are a little bit of information provided by the state in its recommendation. Mr. Poston, would you like to be heard further?
Your Honor, it is alleged that the defendant murdered one Andrea Padilla by shooting her in the head at a wash near Euclid and 22nd. It would appear, based on the interim complaint, that the defendant is a known armed drug dealer where he has prior felonies. He's facing life if he is convicted. He has a history of failing to appear. Nothing short of $1 million is appropriate here.
And defense, do you have an argument?
I don't have a copy of the interim complaint, Your Honor.
Neither do I.
Right. So I I'm going to trust Mr. Poston on what he's saying on that, but I can't verify any of that myself. The $1 million is the state's general recommendation for homicide cases, Your Honor. I am staunchly of the opinion that it is effectively a no bond, which would be illegal. One of the factors that needs to go into release conditions is the actual ability to pay it. He needs to effectively be able to participate in his own defense. And part of that is the ability to be able to post bond and do your defense on the outside, even though the majority of people don't participate in that. With that in mind, I do understand the severity of a charge like this. I don't mean to downplay it, and I understand where Mr. Post is coming from when he says nothing short of $1 million. But I do think numbers significantly lower than $1 million still effectively complete the same thing. I would say a number closer to $200,000 is still effectively completing exactly what Mr. Poston and what the state is asking for. And I would ask for a number closer to that, Your Honor.
Do you have any specific information about the defendant's ability to post bond?
1 second, Your Honor. He's currently not employed, Your Honor. Any amount is realistically a no bond for someone in his situation. So it's a nominal difference between $200,000 and $1 million for his sake.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Mr. Poston, I am going to maintain the $1 million bond that was listed on the warrant issued by the judge at Pima County Justice Court. And the defendant can file a motion to modify as more information is available to his counsel. Do you still need to be heard further, Mr. Poston?
no, Your Honor.
Thank you. Sir, your next court date is going to be March 10th at 1:30. That is at Pima County Justice Court. That's for a preliminary hearing, so that date can change. You'll want to be in good touch with your attorney from the Legal Defender's Office. Do you understand the consequences of failing to appear for court should you post that bond?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. You're excused for today.
The next two are Spanish speakers. The interpreter standing by, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Rosas.
Good morning, sir. Please state your name.
Buenos días, señor. Declare su nombre, por favor.
Francisco Javier Rojas Ahumada.
Francisco Javier Rojas Ahumada.
Mr. Rojas Ahumada, this is the time set for your initial appearance on charges of unlawful flight from law enforcement, aggravated assault of a peace officer, and resisting arrest.
Señor, está aquí usted tenido por la comparecencia inicial de intento de evadir el orden público y agresión con un agente de orden público y resistiendo la detención.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right
Tiene usted
to...
derecho de guardar silencio. Cualquier cosa que diga podrá ser usada en contra suya.
You have the right to an attorney. I am appointing the public defender to represent you.
Tiene usted derecho a representación legal. Voy a apuntar a la oficina de abogado de oficio del defensor público para que le defienda.
We're going to talk about your conditions of release. For that, I have reviewed information provided by pretrial services.
Vamos a hablar de las condiciones de liberación suya y para esto ya he visto el informe que se preparó por la Agencia de Servicios Previos a Juicio.
I have also reviewed the interim complaint and the state's recommendation for a $10,000 bond.
Y también he revisado la querella inicial y la recomendación del fiscal por una fianza de $10,000.
Forgive me, Your Honor, it's 15,000 is the written record.
Disculpe, fiscal, dice que es una recomendación de 15,000 y no 10.
Okay.
Pero si no tengo el dinero,
No lo tengo yo registrado la compañía a mi nombre.
So just a moment.
I don't have that money and that company isn't registered in my name. Espere un momento, señor.
I'm going to offer your attorney a chance to speak in just a moment. The attorney who's seated with you for today.
Un momento, su abogado defensor que está a su lado me comentará lo suyo. Espere.
And Mr. Poston, did you have anything else to add?
Sí, señor Poston,
Yes, Your
algo
Honor.
más de parte
I would
suya
like
que
to highlight the brutality of these accusations. The
quisiéramos
victim,
hacer hincapié de la brutalidad de las acusaciones.
the victim is the defendant's. She reported that when she tried to leave, go ahead.
Se dice que la víctima es novia del acusado y trató de ella de hacerse a un lado y alejarse de él.
Sir, I think you're on a different case. We're on Rojas Ahumada.
Dice, pienso que estaba en otro caso distinto. Estamos hablando del caso de Rojas Ahumada. Al fiscal.
One moment.
Un momento, por favor.
You're correct, Your Honor. I apologize. Got ahead of myself. The defendant during a traffic stop tried to strangle a cop. He attacked him. He tried to choke him out. $10,000.
Thank you. And
Bueno, pues me disculpo, me adelanté un poco. Cuando lo detuvo el agente del orden público, él trató de estrangularlo y trató de escaparse. Pedimos fianza de $10,000.
It was a girl.
Dice, era una policía femenina.
defense, do you need a moment to speak with the defendant?
Espera un momento, si habla el abogado con usted.
Your Honor, I don't speak Spanish. I don't think I would effectively be able to have a moment to speak with.
But it's okay. I'm able to speak.
Okay, yes, then one second.
Le seré franco que no puedo hablar español, no sería efectivo, pero él sí puede hablar en inglés, van a hablar ellos de ustedes. Habla con su abogado, señor.
Your Honor, he's been a resident of Tucson for the past 24 years. He's the owner and worker for a landscape company here in Tucson. I see no criminal history, either misdemeanor or felony. I understand the brutality that the state is highlighting here, but this is a first-time offense that, on the face of it, is not a mandatory prison offense unless they add a dangerous allegation, which, of course, the state is welcome to do, but that's not something that we're looking at this time. With that in mind, I believe.
Counsel,
Yeah, sorry. Yes. If the interpreter needs to go, I apologize. I know I've kind of started going.
señora juez, el acusado vivió aquí en Arizona por Arizona y en Tucson por 24 años. Estamos conscientes de la velocidad que dice la fiscalía, pero él es dueño y empleado de una compañía de mantenimiento de patios y jardines, y a pesar de la brutalidad que se alega por la fiscalía, este es un primer incidente sin antecedentes penales en lo previo. Y go ahead, counsel.
And given all that, ask for enhanced pretrial services. If a bond is in place, I'd ask that it be something closer to $2,000.
Existe el nivel de fianza, pedimos algo más en línea con una cantidad de $2,000 en efectivo o asegurado. Thank you.
All right, sir, I am going to order that you be held on a bond of $5,000.
Bien, voy a ordenar que sea usted tenido bajo fianza de $5,000, señor.
That'll be cash or secured.
Será en efectivo, asegurado por propiedad.
If you are released, you'll be released to pretrial services, and you'll have to submit to any monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services.
Ahora, si logra salir, será bajo la supervisión de la agencia de servicios previos al juicio y tendrá que cumplir con cualquier nivel de supervisión, monitoreo o tratamiento que le exijan.
You can't possess or assume or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs. You can't possess any firearms or weapons.
No podrá tener en su poder cualquier cantidad de licor o droga ilícita ni armas de fuego.
And you can have no contact with the alleged victim and do not return to the incident location.
No tendrá contacto de cualquier tipo con la víctima que se alega ni regresar al sitio del incidente.
Your next court date is going to be March 10th at 1:30.
La próxima comparecencia en su caso será el 10 de marzo a la 1:30 de la tarde.
That's for a preliminary hearing at Pima County Justice Court.
No pueden bajar la bond y
Could you reduce the bond because I don't have the money?
o pueden ser pequeños.
La próxima audiencia será una audiencia preliminar, señor. I could make payments. El abogado le dice que hable con su abogado.
If he's able to reduce that to less termination to today,
Your attorney can talk to them next week about it.
or if I have to make a payments or something, like, that's one of the things that I was like, I wanna like, with the owner. And
You can talk to your attorney about it. They'll be the best person to talk to. Okay.
If you fail to appear for your future court date, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Ahora, si no presenta la siguiente audiencia,
Thank you. You're excused for today.
gracias a todos por lo pronto, puede retirarse.
Sanchez. I puedo sentar ahí, pues.
Please state your name.
Vea su nombre, por favor.
Jesús Ramírez.
Jesús Ramirez Sánchez.
Mr. Ramirez Sanchez, this is the time for your initial appearance on charges of aggravated assault. This is a domestic violence charge. There are two
Señor,
sections of it.
tiene usted aquí acusaciones pendientes de agresión con agravantes de violencia doméstica, 2 cargos distintos y esta es la comparecencia inicial.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire the lawyer of your choice, and I will appoint the public defender to represent you.
Tiene usted derecho a guardar silencio, cualquier cosa que diga podrá y será usada en contra suya. Tiene derecho a presentación legal. Voy a designar al abogado y oficio del director público para que se encargue de su defensa.
You have counsel seated next to you for the purposes of today's hearing, and we're going to discuss your conditions of release.
Tenemos presente a su lado el abogado defensor, por si lo necesita. Vamos a proceder a hablar de las condiciones de liberación.
I have reviewed information provided by pretrial services about you. I have also reviewed, sorry, I'll just tell them everything I've reviewed. The interim complaint and the state's recommendation of a bond of $15,000.
Ahora, he revisado el informe preliminar de la Agencia de Servicios Previos al Juicio, la información de la querella inicial, la recomendación del fiscal que es de $15,000 en efectivo o asegurado.
Mr. Poston, would you like to be heard further?
La pregunta
Yes, Your
fiscal, si tiene algo más que comentar, Mr. Pekin.
Your Honor, the defendant stands accused of when his girlfriend was trying to leave, that he assaulted her and grabbed her, struck her in the face multiple times with a closed fist, breaking her nose. Go ahead.
Dice, señora juez, el acusado está aquí ante usted acusaciones de agresión con agravantes. Cuando su novia trató de alejarse de él la sujetó, le agredió y le golpeó con puño cerrado repetidas veces en el rostro, fracturándole la nariz. Entonces, caso,
It is also alleged that he bit her.
también se dice que la mordió.
Based on the interim complaint, she's going to require stitches and medical treatment due to the disfigurement that at this time is only anticipated to be temporary. Go ahead.
Ahora, en vista de la información de la querella inicial, ella recibirá costuras y también atención médica y basado en la información será una disfiguración temporal. Pero en todo caso, go ahead.
There is a statement that I received at 12:27 in the morning via email from the victim that I would like to read. Your Honor, may I be
Una
permitted?
declaración del correo electrónico que recibe la víctima a las 12:17 horas de la mañana. ¿Se lo puedo leer, señora juez?
Yes.
Sí, por favor.
Quote,
Dice,
I am concerned if he is released. I am
Me preocupa
concerned that he will be
si lo
upset
liberan.
that I call the police.
Me preocupa que lo liberen. Me preocupa que estará alterado y enojado si que se entera que yo me quedé con la policía.
I think that he could want something bad to happen to me physically or verbally.
Eso que querrá actuar en contra mía, ya sea física o verbalmente.
I am concerned about him being near me. I am very concerned for my safety.
Me preocupa que esté cerca de mí. Me preocupa mi seguridad propia.
He is a very impulsive person, and I do not think he can control himself.
Es persona impulsiva y no puede controlarse.
The worst gets to him.
Counsel, would you repeat, please?
The worst gets to him.
Él exhibe lo peor posible en su conducta personal. Go ahead.
That is the end, unquote. The state recommends $15,000, Your Honor.
Así termina sus comentarios. Lo que recomendamos, señor juez, es una fianza de $15,000.
Thank you. Defend?
Gracias. Ahora la defensa.
We would just like to highlight his length of time in Tucson, his housing that he has available, and his employment that he has. We will understand that release is not likely today, Your Honor. We just ask that you consider those factors when determining bond.
Thank you. I have
Ahora, nosotros consideramos el tiempo que lleva viviendo aquí en Tucson y también su historial de empleo. Entendemos que no sea posible que lo deje salir ahora, pero sí pido que usted tome en consideración esos factores para establecer la fianza necesaria. Gracias, dice la juez. Espere.
I have considered that information, and I have also considered the defendant's previous convictions for domestic violence related offenses over the last 10 years. And so I am going to order a bond of $15,000, cash or secured. If that
Sí, he
bond is
considerado esta
posted.
información y también las condenas previas del acusado en los últimos 10 años de violencia doméstica. Voy a imponer fianza de $15,000 en efectivo asegurada.
If that bond is posted, the defendant will be released to pretrial services and required to submit to any monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services.
Ahora, si no le disputa la fianza al acusado, será bajo la supervisión de la Agencia de Servicios Previos al Juicio, teniendo que cumplir con cualquier instrucciones que le den sobre el monitoreo y tratamiento necesario.
The defendant may have no contact of any kind with the alleged victim that starts immediately.
Se incluye cualquier tipo de contacto con la víctima inmediatamente.
He may possess or consume no alcohol or illegal drugs and may possess no firearms or weapons and must surrender any firearms in his possession to local law enforcement.
Se incluye cualquier tipo de posesión de alcohol o droga ilícita y si tiene armas de fuego debe entregarlas a las agencias del orden público.
And you cannot return to the incident location.
Se le prohíbe regresar al sitio del suceso.
Your next court date is going to be March 10th at 1:30 at Pima County Justice Court for a preliminary hearing.
La próxima comparecencia será el 10 de marzo a las 9:30 por la tarde en el juzgado de paz del condado Pima para una audiencia preliminar.
If you fail to appear for that court date, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Si no se presenta esa audiencia, se podrá ordenar su detención. ¿Entiende? Yes.
Thank you. You're excused for today.
Gracias, es todo por hoy. Puede retirarse. Puede retirarse. And Your Honor, that should be the two Spanish speakers today. May the interpreter be excused.
Yes, the jail isn't aware of anyone else who needs an interpreter, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Yes, the interpreter is excused.
Thank you very much.
Oh, here's help. Great question. I think it's. Yeah.
Please state your full name.
Alvarez.
Mr. Alvarez, you are here for your initial appearance on charges of shoplifting and possession of paraphernalia in Pima County Justice Court. You also have several matters in Tucson City Court, including charges of criminal trespassing and theft. We're going to start with the Justice Court matters. You have the right to remain silent on all of these cases. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire an attorney of your choice. On the felony cases, I am going to appoint the legal defender's office to represent you at this time. You also have counsel seated next to you for the purposes of today's hearing. We are going to talk about your conditions of release today. I have reviewed information provided by pretrial services. I have also reviewed the interim complaint, and I have reviewed the state's recommendation of a bond of $3,000. Would the state like
3,000 plus PTS.
Right. Plus pretrial services if posted. Would the state like to be heard any further on that?
State submits.
Thank you. Defense?
If the court is inclined to hold him on bond, we'd ask that it be for $1,000, Your Honor. He is homeless and unemployed at the time. So I will order the bond of $1,000 cash or secured pretrial services if the bond is posted. Sir, if you are able to post bond, you should submit to monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. Possess or consume no alcohol or illegal drugs, possess no firearms or weapons, have no contact with the alleged victim, and do not return to the incident location. Your next court date is going to be March 10th. That is at 1:30 for a preliminary hearing. That hearing date could change, so you'll want to stay in touch with your attorney about that. If you fail to appear for future hearings, a warrant can be issued for your arrest. Do you understand?
Yes.
Thank you. You're excused for today.
The city court cases, Your Honor.
Oh, sorry, you're right. I pushed the files away and did not see them. On the city court case, it has been requested that I hold you on a $500 bond. Because these cases do date back to 2021, I am going to honor that request. So you will have the city public defender appointed to represent you in those cases. If you are released, the additional conditions are not to have any contact with the alleged victims and not return to the incident location. All right. Your next court date in that case is going to be March 7th. For a video review, that's at 1:45. And if you were to post bond, then your next court date would be March 27th at 2 p.m. Do you understand?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for the reminder. Crystal.
Not a problem, Your Honor.
Armenta,
Please state your name.
Manny Almenta.
Mr. Armenta, this is the time set for your initial appearance on charges of theft and burglary. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire an attorney of your choice. I am appointing the public defender to represent you at this time. And you have counsel seated next to you for the purposes of today's hearing. I have reviewed information in advance to consider your conditions of release. That includes information provided by pretrial services about you, as well as the interim. Actually, no, in this case, I did not have the interim complaint, but I have, because it was on warrant status, and I have reviewed information from the state requesting that you be held on a bond of $5,000, which is the warrant amount, plus released to pretrial services if posted. Mr. Poston, do you have anything to add?
Nothing further.
And defense.
Looking at this case, it appears that the defendant was essentially one second, Your Honor, because I'm trying to get my dates correct here. It looks like he was in custody at the time of the warrant. And this predates his only felony that he has in his history, because the allegations come from 2022. Am I reading that correctly here?
So I see that the allegations are alleged to have occurred in January of 2022. And then the warrant.
I have issued as November 21st, 2024, while he was serving a prison sentence that he was sentenced to on March of 2024. So with that in mind, Your Honor, he's effectively had a whole case be handled in between the time that the original offense took place and today. With that in mind, he doesn't have a history of failure to appear. He just got out of custody. And upon being paroled, which means he had no major infractions during his time in DOC, he was immediately transferred here to take care of this case, is what I have in front of me, Your Honor. With that in mind, I believe I'd be. I don't think this would affect his parole because, again, this was predating the time, so it shouldn't be a parole violation. So I'd ask that he be released to pretrial services. If the court is not inclined on that, I believe this should have a very low bond of $1,000.
Yeah, I have a halfway house to go to.
Yeah, he has a halfway house set up as part of his parole as well right now.
If I may talk,
Why don't you tell me first?
no, I just want to state, I've been through so much, and I'm ready to change, but this is just a plea for free trial. So, whatever goes, hopefully it's in the best decision. Appreciate it.
by frequency, since we are trying frequency, then my program is ready.
All right. Sir, I am going to order that you are released to pretrial services today, on the belief that you're going to reside at a halfway house.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm ordering that you possess or consume no alcohol or illegal drugs, that you possess no firearms or weapons, that you submit to monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services, that you have no contact of any kind with the alleged victim, that you do not return to the incident location, and that you contact your parole officer on the first working day following release from custody.
Yes, ma'am.
Your next court date is going to be March 7th at 1:30 for your arraignment. If you fail to appear for that court date, a warrant can issue for your arrest. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Great, thanks. You are excused for today.
One more question, please. Can I have a reprintout of the charges, please?
You'll know that.
Oh, okay. Thank you. You have a good day.
Delgado.
Good morning. Please state your full name.
Manuel Delgado.
Mr. Delgado, this is the time set for your initial appearance on charges of criminal damage, aggravated DUI, and there are 2 charges of aggravated DUI for different reasons. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire the attorney of your choice. I am appointing the public defender to represent you. I have reviewed information in considering your conditions of release, which includes information provided by pretrial services. I have also reviewed the interim complaint in this case, and I have reviewed the state's recommendation that you be held on a bond of $10,000 plus pretrial services if that bond is posted. Mr. Poston, do you have anything to add?
Your Honor, this is his 3rd DUI. This time he caused north of $60,000 in damages. I don't know what it's going to take short of him killing something and killing somebody to actually be held as a risk to the community. $10,000.
And defense.
May I have 1 second, Your Honor?
Yes.
While I spoke to Mr. Delgado, it looks like he was on probation on 3 separate cases at this time. While no probation violations have been held, so he's not being held for a probation violation at this time. We do anticipate those to be filed. With that in mind, the state's recommendation of $10,000 is no different than the recommendation of $1,000 or $5,000 or $50,000. So we'll just submit to the court on this.
Okay. All right, I am very concerned about the fact that there are 2 prior aggravated DUIs in the last 2 years for which you've been convicted, as well as a significant criminal history otherwise. So I am going to go with the state's recommendation of $10,000.
There's 2. You've got 3 plus this one. 2 plus this one.
Yeah, one of them is a misdemeanor.
1 second, Your Honor. I want to clarify something with my client.
Oh, I think he's correct. The 2024 was convicted as a misdemeanor. It was charged.
Yes.
It was charged as a
And
felony.
that's exactly what we were just going over, Your Honor.
Yes, they which one it was. So, yeah.
So if the bond is posted, you'll be released to pretrial services. You will submit to monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. You will not consume or possess alcohol or illegal drugs. You will not drive without a valid license. You will not possess any firearms or weapons. You'll have no contact with the alleged victim of the damage in this case. And your next court date is going to be March 10th at 1:30. That's for a preliminary hearing. That court date can change. So keep in touch with your attorney from the public defender's office. If you fail to appear, a warrant can issue for your arrest. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And Your Honor, can I get that bond number again? I think you were in the middle of explanation. I don't know if we actually got it.
I did go with the state's recommendation of $10,000 based
Thank you.
on the significant history.
So I can't find that. Glimpses.
Right?
Uh,
Dyer?
Please state your full name.
Joshua Dyer.
Mr. Dyer, this is the time for your initial appearance on charges of unlawful possession of a narcotic substance, unlawful possession of narcotic paraphernalia, and unlawful possession of a dangerous drug. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire the attorney of your choice. I am appointing the public defender to represent you in these cases. You also have a warrant out of Cochise County. We are going to talk about your conditions of release in the new cases. I have reviewed information provided by pretrial services. I have also reviewed the interim complaint, and I have reviewed the state's recommendation that you be held on a bond of $5,000, released to pretrial services if released. Let's see. And it is my understanding that if you were released on these charges, you would just be released to Cochise County on their warrant. Does the state have anything further to add?
No, Judge.
And the defense?
Given that it would be the transfer warrant and not just one that they wouldn't act on, we don't have much to add. $5,000 keeps him here, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, so I am going to order that you're held here on a bond of $5,000, cash or secured. Your next court date in this case is going to be March 10th at 1:30. And if you were to post bond and be released, if that other warrant went away, the additional orders would be that you do not possess or consume alcohol or illegal drugs, and that you submit to any monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. It looks like these charges would be eligible for a steps hearing. Shall I set a steps hearing?
It's
if he's going.
Steps the diversion program. If you were to be accepted into that program and successfully completed, it's possible that the state would not go forward on these particular charges. Are you interested in that program?
Yeah.
All right. So I will set the steps hearing. That is going to be March 7th at 9 a.m. At that hearing, they will determine your eligibility for the program. You'll have the opportunity to speak with an attorney further about the program, as well as pretrial services and service providers. Because you are being held, I will keep your preliminary hearing date at March 10th at 1:30. And if you were to fail to appear, a warrant could issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Great. And then on your warrant from out of county, I'm just going to set a review hearing in 30 days. That's March 28th at 9 a.m. to see if you are still here on your local charges or if you have been released to Cochise County. Oh, okay. All right. And I do need to enter a bond on that case. So I am going to enter the bond that was ordered by Cochise County of $15,000. That is cash or secured. Do you have any questions?
No.
Thank you. You're excused.
Elias.
Please state your full name.
Elias.
Mr. Elias, you are here on charges of possession of a dangerous drug and possession of drug paraphernalia. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire the attorney of your choice. I am appointing the public defender's office to represent you on these charges, and you have counsel seated next to you for today. I have reviewed information provided by pretrial services in considering your conditions of release. I have also reviewed the interim complaint and the state's recommendation that you be released to pretrial services.
Yeah, Your Honor, he has a hold right now, a probation hold. So with that in mind, our recommendation would just be a $100 bond. So he's earning time. If the hold goes away, I'm sure $100 is something he'd afford, and we can make it pretrial services if he posts bond.
All right, I will order that you are held on a bond of $100. If you post that bond and are released after your other hold goes away, you will be released to pretrial services. You will be required to participate in monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services, no alcohol or illegal drugs, no firearms or weapons. I am going to, well, you are eligible for a STEPS hearing. That is a pretrial diversion program that that you may be eligible for. If you were to be accepted and successfully complete that program, it is possible that the state would not go forward with these charges. Are you interested in that?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so I will set a hearing on March 7th at 9 a.m. They will determine if you are eligible for the program. You'll be able to speak with an attorney about the program, as well as service providers and pretrial services. Then your preliminary hearing date is scheduled for March 10th at 1:30. That date could change or go away depending on how the STEPS hearing goes. If you were to be released and fail to appear for those or any future hearings, a warrant could issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right, thanks. You're excused for today.
Tyler.
Please state your full name.
Tyler Finlayson.
Mr. Finlayson, you are here on your initial appearance for charges of aggravated DUI as well as misdemeanor DUI. from April of 2020. Right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire an attorney of your choice. In the felony case, I am appointing the public defender's office to represent you, and you do have counsel seated next to you for the purposes of today's hearing. We're going to talk about your conditions of release, and I have reviewed information provided by pretrial services. I have also reviewed the interim complaint, and I have reviewed the state's recommendation that I order a bond of $7,500 plus pretrial services if posted. Do you have anything to add? State?
No, it's not.
And sorry, Mr. Poston, did you say no? Okay, does the defense wish to be heard?
Just 1 second, Your Honor. I want to check real quick. We're just submitting to the court, Your Honor.
Thank you.
It's not a bad idea.
Okay. All right, so on the aggravated DUI, I will order a bond of $5,000, pretrial services if that bond is posted. Do not drive without a valid license, no alcohol or illegal drugs, submit to any monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services, no firearms or weapons. Your next court date in that case is going to be March 10th. That's at 1:30 for a preliminary hearing. If you fail to appear for that hearing, a warrant can issue for your arrest. And then in the misdemeanor case, I'm going to order a bond of $500 cash or secured. Do not drive without a valid license, no alcohol or illegal drugs. Let's see. I will appoint Peter Gutierrez to represent you. And your next hearing will be Monday, March 3rd. That's at 1 p.m. before Judge Tornejo at Pima County Justice Court. Do you understand the consequences of failing to appear?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You're excused for today.
Take me to these hearings, so.
Yeah, if you're still here, they'll transcript.
Garcia,
Please state your full name.
Richard Garcia.
Mr. Garcia, this is the time for your initial appearance on aggravated assault, domestic violence. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire the attorney of your choice. I am appointing the public defender's office to represent you at this time, and you do have counsel seated next to you for the purposes of today's hearing. We're going to talk about your conditions of release, and I have reviewed information provided by pretrial services. I have also reviewed the interim complaint Oh, and I have reviewed the state's recommendation that you be held on a bond of $5,000, released to pretrial services if released. Would the state like to be heard further?
We're really gonna work today. The whole
Mr. Poston, if you are saying anything, I couldn't hear you. Did you want to be heard any further on this? Now I can hear you just very quiet. Oh, he left. Or no?
No, I'm here.
Okay, I can hear you very quietly.
Better.
No. The same.
They have nothing further on this one.
Okay, thank you.
Log out. They still log in through.
And would the defense like to be heard?
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to point out that he has resided in Tucson for years. He's fully employed. He's got an address and a backup address with his mother. If he lives with his mother, he'll be away from the victim in this case as well. This does seem to be like a situation that escalated and is not necessarily indicative of his general behavior. He's told me he has work today that he hopes not to miss. We'd ask that he be released to enhance pretrial services. If the court thinks that a bond is appropriate, I'd ask that it be no more than $1,500, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, I am going to order a bond of $1,500, cash or secured, for trial services if posted, and submit to any monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. No alcohol or illegal drugs, no firearms or weapons, no contact with the alleged victim, and don't go to the victim's residence or workplace. Do not return to the incident location.
I know that the incident. See you.
Your Honor, it's my understanding that the victim doesn't live at the incident location. I'd ask that he be able to return to it.
That's my house.
It's his home, Your Honor.
Okay, so is this the place you indicated he could go live where he would not be in contact with the victim?
So he effectively has two addresses that are available to him. One is the incident location that the victim does not reside at. He lives by himself. The other is with his mother, and that's the
California.
that's in California is the problem with that one, Your Honor. But effectively, the victim doesn't live at the incident location. Only the defendant does, and he resides by himself.
Okay, then if was the victim staying there for a period of time, or okay? All right, then I'm not going to prohibit you from going to the incident location. I am prohibiting contact with the victim, and I am prohibiting you from going to the victim's residence or workplace. All right? Okay.
Yes.
All right, so your next court date will be March 10th. That is at 1:30 in the afternoon. That is at Pima County Justice Court for a preliminary hearing. That date could change, so stay in touch with your attorney. If you fail to appear, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Haro,
Please state your full name.
My name is Javier Francisco Haro Martinez.
Mr. Haro Martinez, this is the time set for your initial appearance. It looks like we have charges of drug paraphernalia and older charges of possession of narcotic drugs and drug paraphernalia. As well as city court charges. Oh, those are the newest charges, I think. Well, city court charges of drug paraphernalia. All right, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire the attorney of your choice. On the felony charges, I am going to appoint the public defender to represent you. We're going to talk about your conditions of release. I have reviewed information provided by pretrial services, including that you have failed to appear for your arraignment 3 times.
So
I have reviewed the state's recommendation that you be held on a bond of $500 and released to pretrial services if released. Would the state like to be heard any further?
No, Your Honor, nothing further.
Thank you. And defense?
Your Honor, he was homeless at the time when this case was originally going. He has told me that he can reside with his parents at this time. He is self-employed as a barber. This is his first felony, although I do recognize the age. I believe release to pretrial, another shot of pretrial services may be appropriate in this case. If not, I'd ask that the bond be $100, Your Honor.
And I do have a question, which is it just now that you are allowed to live with your parents, or have you been living with them for a period of time?
no, just now I'm allowed to live with him because I had left a while ago, a long time ago, and now that it just feels so act of God where as I'm getting arrested, my father shows up to the scene and he's watching me get arrested, and it was kind of a pretty deep situation. I mean, not situation, but a hard kind of scene. And he gave me the opportunity to go back home. So I was hoping to be released over there, but I don't know. It's up. What's your guys' choice?
Okay. So I am going to give you one more chance to appear, sir. If you fail to appear, a warrant is very likely to issue for your arrest. Your court date is going to be March 7th at 1:30 for an arraignment. That's at Pima County Superior Court, 110 West Congress.
Okay.
Further conditions are that you submit to any monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services, and that you do not possess any alcohol or illegal drugs and do not possess any firearms. And then in your Tucson case, your next court date will be March 27th at 9 a.m. That'll be before Judge Surrio at Tucson City Court for a pretrial. And because this is also your arraignment on the new city court charges, I will let you know that I'm entering a plea of not guilty on your behalf. You are presumed to be innocent. If you fail to appear for court, not only can a warrant issue for your arrest, but the hearings can also go forward without you, including a trial. If you are convicted at trial and fail to appear for at least 90 days for sentencing, you can lose your right to a direct appeal. Do you understand the consequences of failing to appear?
I do, Your Honor.
All right, you're excused for today.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Please.
Please state your full name.
Walter Marquez.
Mr. Marquez, this is the time for your initial appearance. You are here, on charges of aggravated driving under the influence. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire the attorney of your choice. I am appointing the public defender's office to represent you, and there is counsel seated next to you for today's hearing. We're going to talk about your conditions of release, and in considering those, so far I have reviewed the interim complaint. I have also reviewed information provided by pretrial services. And I have reviewed the state's recommendation that you be held on a bond of $10,000 for trial services if that bond is posted. Would the state like to be heard further?
No, Judge.
And defense?
If I could just have 1 second, Your Honor, there's a couple of things I want to ask.
Okay.
Your Honor, he does reside here in Tucson. He lives with family with his sister. While he is unemployed at this time, it is a temporary unemployment. It started in October. He actually has an interview on Monday. I'd ask that if a bond is placed, that it be no more than $2,500, Your Honor. That's still an extensive amount for someone that is currently unemployed. But his likelihood of being a flight risk, given his sister living here, is not as high as I think it appears on paper.
What time is your job interview on Monday?
2 p.m.
And it looks like you might also have a pretrial conference in a Tucson City Court case on Monday. What time is that?
That is at 10 a.m.
Okay. All right.
And it's via Zoom.
Sir, I'm seeing that you've been convicted of DUI in California twice, in Texas once, and that you also, that other case out of Tucson City Court is a DUI from about 3 months ago?
Yes, so I have the one in Tucson from 3 months ago, and then the one from yesterday.
Right.
The one in Texas,
technically, I believe, is not a conviction at this time, Your Honor.
Yeah, because it's the one.
I see that the sentencing hearing has been continued for a while. That's what it says for me. So I am going to impose the bond of $2,500. That will be cash or secured. Pretrial services, if you post that bond, monitoring your treatment is directed by pretrial services, no alcohol or illegal drugs, no driving without a valid license, no firearms or weapons. Your next court date in this case is going to be March 10th. That is at 1:30 in the afternoon. And if you fail to appear, a warrant can issue for your arrest. You understand?
Yes.
All right, thank you. You're excused.
Wachowski.
Please state your full name.
Doing Rick Krusty.
Mikowski, this is the time set for your initial appearance on charges of possession or use of a weapon in a drug offense, possession of narcotic drugs, possessions of a weapon by a prohibited possessor, and possession of drug paraphernalia. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to be represented by an attorney, and I am appointing the legal defender's office to represent you. We're going to talk about your conditions of release, and I have reviewed information provided by pretrial services. I have reviewed the interim complaint. And I have reviewed the state's recommendation that you be held on a bond of $7,500 and pretrial services if that bond is posted. Would the state like to be heard any further?
No, Judge.
Would the defense like to be heard?
I would just like to point out he is pending a warrant currently with Superior Court. So whatever bond is in place here will likely have to be a mandatory consecutive to whatever he receives on the other case. With that in mind, I'd ask for a lower number than 7,500. I'm sure the total number will be above 7,500 anyways. But we'll submit to the court on what that number actually looks like.
Okay, thank you. Due to the extensive criminal history and the loaded handgun, I am going to order a bond of $5,000 cash or secured. Pretrial services, if that bond is posted. Monitoring your treatment as directed by pretrial services. Surrender any firearms that are in your possession, sir. You may not possess any firearms or weapons. And your next court date is going to be March 10th. That is at 1:30. That is for a preliminary hearing at Pima County Justice Court. Were you to post bond and be released and fail to appear for that hearing, a warrant would likely issue for your arrest. You understand?
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Have a good day. Oh,
Yeah. Your Honor, Morris is going to be a little delayed, so we're going to move to Nichols right now.
Please state your name.
Marcel Nichols.
Mr. Nichols, this is the time for your initial appearance. You are here this morning for charges of discharging a firearm at a residence, misconduct involving weapons, discharging a firearm, endangerment, and discharging a firearm in city limits. It looks like there are 18 total counts. These are all felony offenses. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire the attorney of your choice. I am appointing the public defender's office to represent you. We're going to talk about your conditions of release, and I have reviewed information provided by pretrial services about you. I have also reviewed the interim complaint that describes the circumstances of your arrest and these charges. And I have reviewed the request from the state that you be held on a bond of $150,000, and if that is posted, that you be released to pretrial services. Would the state like to be heard further?
Your Honor, the sheer volume of the charges, the nature of the charges, the fact that there could have, in theory, been 13 dead people here. He's 18. He live streamed shooting up a block. He's an admitted gang member. He's posting this interesting content to social media. This person is an imminent threat to any bystander when he decides to go out and do this again. He is an imminent threat to the community. He is a threat of death to the community. He actually went online and saying he wants to kill a certain demographic. This person is a disaster waiting to happen. 150,000.
Thank you. And would the defense like to be heard?
There's just a few points I would like to point out to the court. He did score a level 1 nonviolent in pretrial services matrix. This is his first criminal charge. He's got no juvenile criminal history, no felony criminal history as far as I can see. His youth should be taken into account into the fact that he is a student. I understand he's unemployed, but that's not uncommon for 18-year-old students. He has reside in Chandler in Arizona for 7 years. His mother has been able to verify his residential credentials and is willing to take third-party custody of him as well. As far as what a bond appropriate here is, I believe a number probably closer to 50,000 is appropriate, Your Honor, given his age, given the fact that he won't be the one posting bond, if that's even something that's going to happen in this case. And we agree with pretrial services if bond is posted.
Okay.
Judge,
Yes, Mr. Poston?
given the fact that this person is an adult, his youth is absolutely irrelevant. He's expected to obey the same laws as any other adult, and clearly his mom can't take care of him and stop him from doing this sort of thing. The state has no reason to believe that suddenly she's going to have the ability to stop this sort of thing. This person needs to be held on a $150,000 bond. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions for the defense. Was Mr. Nichols living in Chandler and going to school in Chandler or going to school in Tucson?
Yes. In Chandler, Your Honor.
All right, I will order a bond of $75,000. That will be cash or secured. If you are able to post that bond, you'll be released to pretrial services, no alcohol or illegal drugs, no firearms or weapons. Sir, if there are any firearms in your possession, you must surrender them to local law enforcement. You must submit to any monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. Your next court date is going to be March 10th. That is at 1:30 at Pima County Justice Court. That is for a preliminary hearing, so that date may change. If you fail to appear for that or any future hearing, a warrant can issue for your arrest. You understand?
Yeah.
All right, you're excused.
Morris, sit down, my goodness.
Good morning. Please state your name.
Caleb Morris.
Mr. Morris, this is the time set for your initial appearance. You are here on charges of interference with an educational institution. That's a class 6 felony. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire the attorney of your choosing, and I don't know if I accidentally unchecked it, but there's no attorney in here. Morris. Sorry. I'm just finding out which office is being appointed for you. All right, so I will appoint the public defender to represent you. You have counsel seated next to you for the purpose of this hearing. We're going to talk about your conditions of release. I have reviewed information provided by pretrial services. I have also reviewed the interim complaint and information provided for probable cause. And
You say you're on the list right now, right?
yes, I just added it.
I know, but you said Morris, or you said
That should have been Nichols.
in review, switch editing, then Morris is now at. You sent it over.
I have it in front of me here too.
Yes, two.
Oh, he has 2. Okay. All right. Let me. Okay. Just one moment. Let me get this. Yep. Okay. All right, let me get that one out. All right. So I think I only have information on, or no, here it is. Okay. All right, so the other charge that I have, sir, is use of an electronic communication to harass. And that is a misdemeanor. Okay. One second.
That's what today's about. Okay.
All right, so we're going to talk about your conditions of release. I have reviewed the pretrial services information, the interim complaint, and the state's recommendation of a bond of $7,500 plus pretrial services if released. And I can't remember if I already asked you, Mr. Poston, if you wanted to add anything to this one.
Your Honor, this sort of thing is absolutely unacceptable given the school shootings in the last 20 years in the United States. It's not entirely clear what exactly this defendant allegedly posted. However, it would appear he does have 2 open cases. One is threats and intimidations. One is DOC and criminal damage to face. And now we have this current allegation. The state takes these things incredibly seriously because these threats cause a huge disruption. They terrorize the community. They put children potentially at risk of death or severe bodily harm, and they ought not be tolerated.
Defense?
Thank you.
Your Honor, I first want to address the statement of probable cause. I agree with Mr. Poston. I don't think it's very clear what's posted. And I'm not entirely sure how we can establish probable cause when that's not elaborated in here. I'm looking at the statute in front of me now, and there's effectively, multiple ways that this can occur, but the idea that I'm understanding here is threatening to cause physical injury or causing damage, but neither one of those is alleged in this probable cause. And I think how it's currently written, I don't think this is appropriate. And I think at this time would need to be, if the court disagrees with me, I would ask that he be released to pretrial services. He has no criminal history. He currently is a lifelong resident of Tucson, and he's been at the same address for the last 5 years. He's not a flight risk. I do understand some of the state's concerns, but again, given the lack of probable cause in the statement of probable cause, I do believe that this would be appropriate to dismiss at this time.
So,
Your Honor?
I'm not going to dismiss Mr. Poston, but I'm also probably not going to hold him on this charge. So do you want to be heard?
Your Honor, looking at the statement in the interim complaint, the language is very plain. It does not require specificity of exactly what was threatened. What we see here is that the complaint states that he made a post on social media perceived to be threatening in nature. It affected day-to-day ops, and it resulted in a lockdown. This is precisely meeting the definitions. We don't need to get into specificity this early in the process. Plus, Your Honor, when you take into account the fact that he's pending two violent misdemeanor cases, this individual, this 20-year-old, is escalating, and the state urges the court to take decisive action prior to the point that he kills somebody.
Thank you. So, counsel, you'll be able to argue about dismissal at the next court date, the preliminary hearing. The way I read the rules, at the initial appearance, I can release, and it's at the preliminary hearing where the judge can dismiss if it finds no probable cause. So at this point in time, I am going to order on this charge that he's released on his promise to appear at future court dates, and that the additional conditions are that he oh, is that this one? Yes, it is. It looks like he also has a hold under Title 36. So that's right. I did put that in here. So it's unlikely that.
Was that added? Because I don't think that.
It's on the jail's list. It just says T36 under hold.
Oh.
So I am going to order that if you are released, you're released to pretrial services, submit to monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services, no alcohol or illegal drugs, no firearms or weapons, surrender any firearms that are in your possession, no contact with the alleged victim, and do not return to the school. Your next court date is March 20th at 1:30. Should I hit publish? Or just save changes? Okay.
Your Honor, this is a Title 36 this early in the process is fairly uncommon. Do we need to establish a bond?
I'm not hearing the Title 36. I ordered that he's on that case, he's released. And then I'm opening the other case right now.
Mm-hmm. I guess my question is, if he's being held Title 36, should we establish like a nominal bond of?
Oh, so that the time count?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I can do that. So I'm going to order $100 in that case. And then we're turning to the other case. The system is frozen for me, so. Okay, there we go. All right. Oh. Okay. On the misdemeanor case. I'm gonna order a bond of $500.
It's gonna be.
And the next date will be.
So
at 1 p.m.
I'm so sorry, Your Honor. I do have a correction from the detective in this case. If the court does want to keep their release conditions, he would be released to CRC, not held in the jail.
That's
so.
That's what I thought.
So I'd be leaving after this.
So with that in mind, we can return to the original release if the court would be inclined. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so I will do that. And on the misdemeanor charge, I'm ordering a $500 bond, cash or secured. Next court date is Monday at 1. Before Judge Pesqueira. Nope, sorry, it's assigned to Judge Pesqueira, but that court date is going to be in front of Judge Cornejo.
Let's say the $500 I have to pay today. You don't have to pay today, but you can pay today.
So I'm still gonna be released, but
If you pay
the pay bond.
No, he has a bond in his justice court case. He has a $500.
Yeah.
I'm not being released.
No, you have a $500 bond in your justice court case.
All right, connect for my eye after this, so I can see if I'll take the up. That'll be up.
Once you go back to your house and let them know. Good.
Okay. Can't do this.
You good?
You're excused for today.
Excuse me.
Please state your full name.
Monique Christine Rada.
Rada, you are here for your initial appearance on charges of organized retail theft, tampering with physical evidence, felony shoplifting, and then you have failure to appears on 2 different shoplifting charges out of justice court. So the new charges are felonies, the old charges are misdemeanors. You have the right to remain silent on all charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire the attorney of your choice. On the felony charges, I am going to appoint an attorney to represent you, and that's going to be the public defender's office. We're going to talk about your conditions of release. And in considering those, I have reviewed information provided by pretrial services. I have also reviewed the interim complaint. And I have reviewed the state's request that you be held on a bond of $3,500 and released to pretrial services if that bond is posted. Would the state like to be heard further?
No, Judge.
I would just like to point out the organized retail theft seems to be the largest charge here. I understand there's 2 class 4 felonies, but reading through the statement of probable cause, again, I would like to, it seems like a factor is missing as far as I can tell. given that the only artifice or any sort of device used would have been a cart found after she was already outside of the store. With that in mind, I would ask for a bond that is lower than the state's recommendation. We're still aware of the fact that she does have warrants in this case, but with that in mind, and she does have a probation hold at this time. But with that in mind, we'd ask for $1,000 bond.
Right. All right, so I am going to order a bond of $1,500. If you are released, you'll be released to pretrial services. You'll submit to any monitoring or treatment that they direct. No alcohol or illegal drugs, no firearms or weapons, no contact with the alleged victims. Do not return to the incident locations. And in the felony matters, your next court date is going to be March 10th at 1:30. That is for a preliminary hearing. That hearing date can change, so please keep in touch with your attorney. And then on the, just double check.
I did.
Misdemeanor matters that were in warrant status, I will order a concurrent bond of $500. Do not have any contact with the alleged victims. Do not return to the incident location. The next court date for those is going to be Monday at 1 p.m. before Judge Cornejo at Pima County Justice Court. Aha, there it is. 3.
Yes.
And if you are released and fail to appear for any of your future court dates, a warrant can issue for your arrest. You understand?
Yes.
All right, thank you. You're excused for today.
Brandon,
Yes, please.
Brandon,
I thought
Brandon is next.
just said that was yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone told the jail. Mr. Brandon?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
Sir, there was an issue with the paperwork and it was requested that we continue your initial appearance to the evening session. So your case will be heard at 7 p.m. Thank you. You're excused.
Reyes,
Please state your full name.
Salazar Reyes.
Reyes, this is the time for your initial appearance. You are here on charges of organized retail theft, felony shoplifting, and you also have failure to appear warrant for shoplifting out of Pima County Justice Court. The new charges are felonies. The old charge is a misdemeanor. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to be represented by an attorney in the felony cases. I am appointing the legal defender's office to represent you, and you do have counsel seated with you today for the purposes of today's hearing. We're going to turn to your conditions of release, and I have reviewed information per services. I have also reviewed the interim complaint and the state's recommendation that you be held on a bond of $2,500, released to pretrial services if posted. Anything else to add, Mr. Poston?
No, Your Honor.
And would the defense like to be heard?
Yes, I'd like to point out the same issue with the organized retail theft I had for the co-defendant as well. Probable cause does not state that this was stolen with the purpose to sell, nor does it list what the artifice or any tool used to help facilitate the theft. With that in mind, obviously that's only one of the two charges, but the criminal history here is non-existent. She's a lifelong resident of Tucson. Given that in mind, I'd ask that she be released to pretrial services. If she is given a bond, I'd ask that it be no more than $1,500.
Great. So in the felony matter, I'm going to order a bond of $500, cash or secured. No contact with the alleged victim. Do not return to the incident location. And that the probable cause issue can be argued at the preliminary hearing, but there are other charges. So we are going to hold her on those. Your next court date is going to be March 10th. That's at 1:30. That's at Pima County Justice Court for a preliminary hearing. And that hearing date could change, so it's important to stay in touch with your attorney. And then on the misdemeanor, I'm just going to order a bond of $100, cash or secured. No contact with the alleged victim. Do not return to the incident location. And your court date for that case is going to be March 3rd at 1 before Judge Cornejo. And I will appoint Peter Gutierrez to represent you.
And Your Honor, that was the legal defender appointed for the felony, correct?
Yeah, I believe that's correct. Is that correct? Reyes. Yes, it was the legal defender. And
Thank you.
Okay, so Peter Gutierrez. All right, if you remain in custody, the jail will make you available for your hearings. If you postpone and are released, it'll be your responsibility to appear. If you fail to appear, a warrant can issue for your arrest. You understand?
You understand?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. You're excused for today.
Rifle.
Please state your name.
Zachariah Allen Riffley.
Mr. Ripley, this is the time for your initial appearance. You are here on charges of aggravated domestic violence and aggravated harassment. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to be represented by an attorney. You can hire an attorney of your choice. Today, I am appointing the public defender to represent you in this case, and you do have counsel seated next to you for the purposes of today's hearing. I'm going to consider your conditions of release, and I have reviewed information provided by pretrial services. I have reviewed the interim complaint, and I have also reviewed the state's recommendation that you be held on a bond of $15,000 and released to pretrial services if released. Would you like to be heard further, Mr. Poston?
No, Judge.
And defense.
Mr. Riffley has spoken to me. He was set to be moving residences today. Along with that, his girlfriend is pregnant and expecting soon. And he hopes to be there with the release of his child, or with the birth of his child. Additionally, looking at his criminal history, it does show it does show domestic violence history. It is all misdemeanor history. I understand that's why this is charged as a felony as well. The victim in this matter did state that they suffered no injuries, and he does have a place to stay that is not her residence, which is a big part of what he is focused on right now. With all that in mind, I'd ask that he be released to pretrial services. If he is held in, with a bond, I'd ask that it be $1,500, Your Honor.
Judge?
Yep.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Given defense's position, the state needs to emphasize that this person violated an order of protection where his mom was the protected party. Twice he did this, and he spat in her face and he threatened her. He's got 2 priors within the 84 months. This person is a danger. I'm sorry his girlfriend is giving birth, but the fact is he's a danger to the community and has no regard for lawful court orders.
Your Honor,
What do you say? What do you say? Just wanted to tell her that I will be contacting my mother and that was the last time we see her. We just don't get along. So where he'll be moving is in Marana, which is, still in the county, a different part of the county than where his mother stays.
Respectfully, Judge, that doesn't change the fact that he doesn't seem to care about orders of protection.
All right. I am going to order that you be held on a bond of $2,500, sir. I am very concerned about this repetitive behavior and the safety of your mother and others who you may come across. I would like you to be present for the birth of your child, but I also need to know that you're going to appear for your court hearings and that you're not going to do any further harm to anyone. So that is my order. Additional orders, if you post bond, will be that you are released to pretrial services, that you submit to any monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services, that you commit no acts of domestic violence, and that you possess no firearms or weapons. No contact with your mother. Do not return to her home. Do not go anywhere that she is. If you see her in a public place, you need to leave that place. Your next court date is going to be March 10th. That's at 1:30. And that is for a preliminary hearing at Pima County Justice Court. Stay in touch with your attorney because that court date could change. If you fail to appear for that or future court dates, a warrant can issue for your arrest. You understand?
yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You're excused.
Rivera?
Please state your name.
Paul Romero.
Mr. Romero, this is the time for your initial appearance on charges of burglary, narcotic, drug possession, theft of a credit card, and possession of drug paraphernalia. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to be represented by an attorney. You may hire the attorney of your choice. I am appointing the public defender's office to represent you. We're going to talk about your conditions of release. And I have reviewed the interim complaint. I have also reviewed information provided by pretrial services. It looks like you do have a probation hold, so even if I were to order your release today, you would not be released. And I have reviewed the state's recommendations that I order a bond of $2,500 and pretrial services if you are able to post that bond and be released. Do you need to be heard further, Mr. Poston?
No, Your Honor, state submits.
And defense?
Given the probation hold, Your Honor, I've spoken to Ms. Romero shortly. We're fine with submitting to the court.
Okay. So I will order that $2,500 cash or secured bond. If you are able to deal with your other hold and then post this bond, further conditions will be that you submit to any monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services, that you possess no alcohol or illegal drugs and consume no alcohol or illegal drugs, that you possess no firearms or weapons, that you do not have any contact with the alleged victim, and that you do not return to the incident location. Your next court date is going to be March 10th. That's at 1:30. That is for a preliminary hearing at Pima County Justice Court. If you were to postpone and be released and fail to appear for that hearing, a warrant could issue for your arrest. Do you understand? All right, thank you. You're excused. I believe that is all I have. Does anyone have anything else?
That's all we have, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. Have a lovely day.